Tuesday. Welcome to the Leasing Highway, a podcast centered on the hearts and voices of the industry. I'm Karen Gladney.
And I'm Ian Andrews, one of your other hosts. And today we're super excited to be joined by Steve Wunch, who is the Senior Director of Business Development for Leap and Industry Icon. So we're super excited to have you on, Steve. And I'll pass it over to you to tell us a little bit about your story.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here with you. Can't think of two more favorite people in the industry than you guys, and I love to see what you're doing. You've got the heartbeat of people in mind, and I really appreciate that. So I've been in the industry a long time, like almost 30 years. I started off as a leasing consultant, kind of worked my way up through the chain of command. Then I slipped into training and development for about 22 years. And that was a pretty fun ride. And then just before COVID, I made a switch. I was going to open up my own consultancy. And unfortunately, the evil virus killed it. And so I got some opportunities to step onto the supplier side. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it's been a couple of years on the supplier side. Used to call it the dark side, but I've changed my mind. And I'm just happy to be here, happy to help people and connect people. And that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, it sure is. You know, Ian said industry icon, and I don't think, Steve, you give yourself enough credit. I mean, you truly are a shining light in our industry. Aww. And you just bring so much joy to every room you walk in. And, you know, I know you're a national speaker too, and I've gotten to hear you speak, and just, super enjoyable to hear you speak and just to know you. And I would think, like you said, so you so long on the management side, operations, and then to go to the other side and to go to the vendor side. One had to be a bit scary. Talk a little bit about that, but then also after the fear factor and getting over that, but then what insights have you gained? Because that's a really, really cool perspective to have both viewpoints.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been, so, you know, I had my mom living with me. She's 87 this year, sort of had some issues with dementia or early onset of Alzheimer's. And so the vendor side allowed me the flexibility that I needed to kind of tend to her as well as tending to my job. So for me, that balance was something that I really needed, the ability to work remotely. This was, you know, just as we were getting into the virus that shall not be named. But, you know, to be in operations during that time, there would have been no way that I could have managed her as well as my job. Right. So I think, you know, I believe everything happens for a reason. And I think, you know, that's just kind of the way that the universe wanted to move me. I think what's been the biggest benefit to me is being able to say to an operator, hey, you know, I've sat in your seat. I know what it's like. I know budget season, and I know, you know, all the things, all the hoops that you guys are jumping through. And so I'll pace my, you know, my marketing or my outreach efforts around those specific dates and times that I know are highly busy for folks that sit on the operations side. And I think that's been helpful. And just the perspective of, you know, having been an operator for such a long, long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, a couple of the companies that I've worked for on the supplier side didn't really have anybody with a deep multifamily background. So I was able to bring them, you know, teach them some things as well in terms of how operators work and how long I think the multifamily sales cycle is. And I think that was helpful as well.
Oh, for sure. And even it varies based on what you're selling and exactly. What powers that be need to be involved in the process, and you being able to shed that light has to be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, it's you know, no matter what part of the industry you're in, you get into a little bit of a funnel of your zone. So having just had that experience of different viewpoints, whether it's within different organizations or within different, you know, positions and different sides. And so what I think really what you bring is just such amazing experience and perspective on where the industry really is, because you've seen it from not only, that viewpoint of different companies, but different positions, and the vendor side and supplier side versus, the actual owner operator side, really gives you that amazing perspective. And curious, on that note, when you think about the next 3 to 5 years in our industry, what do you see as some of those biggest opportunities that are out there, having all that perspective?
Well, I think, the word that's been kind of my word of the year so far is intention, like really being intentional with what you're doing, and whether you're delivering a resident experience, if you're having a renewal conversation with a current resident who's struggling financially, as many people are, or if you're on the vendor side like me and you're, doing outreach, or you're, going to a conference and trying to book meetings. I think your intention sets the tone for everything that's going to happen after that. And I've really tried to be intentional and purposeful about the way that I present whatever it is that I'm selling or doing. And, the people are the most important part. And Karen, like when we were kind of prepping for this call, you said, we really want to shine a light on the people. And the people are the reason we're here. The only reason we have jobs is because there are residents out there who need a home. And I think we have such a huge opportunity, whether we sit in a leasing office or whether we're on a sales team at a supplier partner. We have such an important role in impacting people's lives every day. So we need to walk into our office or my Wunch box here with with that idea of intention right center. And I think that really helps to keep you grounded. It helps to make sure that you're motivated by the right things. And it's not been easy. It's not been easy for anybody during the last, 18 to 20 months. So I think that just has kind of been helpful for me. And I hope that'll help some folks that are out there listening.
I think you make a good point. It's not easy, and you put on the right face, right? But just remembering that people have lots of layers and lots going on behind, and just being intentionally there in the moment, right? With whatever you're doing. I think that certainly could set the tone for the next 3 to 5 years if everybody would always be that intentional. Well, and you just mentioned it, Steve, about people. And I feel like throughout our seasons now of about 30 guests, that it's been, and it wasn't prompted by any means. It definitely, people and team members just became this focal point. I felt like that always came up. From your side and what you've seen out there, what are some examples of companies really backing up the words of the people matter through some actions, programs that you've seen, or ways to recognize people and share kudos or build people up? What have you seen?
Well, I've seen a lot. And I think, the whole past year has really kind of set the stage for leaders who are going to really be intentional and true to who they say they are, and really living out the core values of their companies. One example that comes to mind, was when I was at NOC, I was working with a company called MC Companies, and Leslie Bryce is the CEO there. And I just started following her on LinkedIn, and she did some really cool posts about how thankful she was for the leasing teams and how they really were frontline workers, putting themselves, in a position that was not safe for a good bit of time. And she was really intentional about her delivery. And then like everybody on the corporate support team kind of came on screen and said, I really appreciate everything that you're doing. And I don't want, once this all passes by and we're back to sort of what normal will be moving forward, let's not forget how that mattered to people then. We were in a trying time, and we needed to do everything that we could to encourage everybody. Well, guess what? Everybody needs that every day. Let me say how you doing. Because to be a leader in this industry, regardless of what side of the coin you're on, supplier or operator, people need to hear you and how you appreciate what they do every day, and you don't take it for granted for 1 second. And that to me was the epitome of, I reached out to her, even I said, I'd want to work for you. if that's the way you're leading during this stressful time, then you're somebody I'd want to work for tomorrow. What your number?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, like you said, putting actions behind the words, not just talking about it, but acting on it.
Yeah. And a lot of companies have core values.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we just forget that they're there. We get in our, and you said you kind of get in your rut and you get in the grind.
Totally.
And I'd encourage everybody on this call today, go back and look at what your core values are, because they say who you want to be as a company, and make sure that you're finding a way to live and breathe those core values every opportunity you get the chance. They should be as real as somebody on your team in the way that you work.
Absolutely. I think just, knowing that human connection really matters, and it plays such a huge important part. So, as a leader, really making a conscious effort to say, like, how am I connecting with my team? How am I getting our message out and unifying our team? I mean, all of those things. I think you hit the nail on the head there. And all that COVID really did, hopefully was at least bring that to light by, having a period of time where it was a little bit harder to get that connection. Really, just, if anything, showed us how important it is. And that really just, those companies that have that strong cultural backbone that really allow for the leaders to speak up and connect when it's difficult, I think won't go away, and will continue to strive afterwards too. So, well, let's take a quick break here, and then a few more questions on the other side here. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So another piece I wanted to dive into here. Well, as I mentioned when I introduced you, you really are that industry icon, and a lot of that is because you've done so much speaking as well. For anyone who hasn't seen Steve speak, it's he does an incredible job. Your content super well, and really find a way to get the crowd engaged and everything. So definitely amazing speaker and industry influencer. And just curious, throughout your experience here, what do you attribute some of your success to?
I guess I'll start with I was a frustrated actor. I was, before I got into property management, I was a singer. I wasn't a singer dancer. I was a singer who moved with conviction. But I did have a performance background, and I think getting into a training role really kind of satisfied that creative side of me, and gave me the opportunity to kind of be on stage every once in a while. But again, I think it just comes down to intention. And, whenever I step on a stage, it's my intention to energize my audience, to, give them some new ideas, some fresh approaches to what they're doing every day, in the hopes that they'll go back home and tweak something and see a better result. And if I can do that, then I've done my duty, and that's what gets me excited and fills my gas tank every day.
Where do you seek to fill that? Like, because you do, Steve, you come with a lot of, I feel like, you're always seeking out new information. Are you seeking beyond our industry? Are there certain people you're focused on within the industry? How are you coming up with your content that you share, and that, because really that's why people follow you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn has really been a source of strength and information for me over the last couple of years. And I've really been paying attention to industry leaders across the board, from, textile companies to hospitality companies to multifamily operators, and just really, kind of paying attention. And you can sort of see trends and threads in conversations where topics kind of begin to bubble up and you hear the same conversation in different circles. And that kind of tells me, oh, I should probably put this on my radar, because if it matters in these three industries, I'm sure that there's a parlay over into multifamily. And that's kind of really been, that's been my go-to. I hope my boss isn't watching this. I probably spend more time on LinkedIn than I do in Salesforce or my other job duties, just because I'm following potential clients and paying attention to their business. And I'm also looking for industry trends and ways that I can have an impact on that front as well.
I've definitely heard that more and more recently from professionals on both sides of the industry, but just what a resource it is. And also, it's helpful, keeps you in the know, not only of trending topics, but what people are doing and also where their hot buttons and passions lie. I know people ask for input and feedback on there and share some great things. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for me, so we were all just at OpTech, and I probably had 30 people come up to the booth and say, "Oh, I follow you on LinkedIn and I really love your messaging." And I was like, holy crap, I have a pretty good following, I guess. And so, there again is another opportunity to be intentional and be consistent and be authentically who you are on screen and off screen. And I think that's been something that's helped me as well.
Well, for people to say they love your messaging, then they're feeling like it's intentional and thoughtful and not just trying to promote or, sometimes that can be like that. What about, along the way, Steve, have you had any mentors, or who are those people that have really been those influencers along your path?
I probably would say I've had a few mentors, some that have taught me who I want to be and some that have taught me who I don't want to be.
Yep.
Leaders that I've worked under or for, who either led very well and, were intentional and breathed and walked those core values, or leaders who were kind of self-serving and didn't really put team above self. And I think that's been a real influence on who I've become in my tenure in this industry. I had a lady once, Julia Mast was my boss at Equity Residential, and she had just started working for the company. And we went up to the Northeast to help with their leadership summit. And we did an activity, and then there was a debrief. Well, I was the first person to raise my hand to share what my table was talking about. She pulled me aside afterwards and she said, "I don't want to see you do that again." And I was like, oh, crap. New boss, way to make a bad first impression. And she says, "No, you're that kid. You can be in the spotlight and people know that, but I want them to see a different side of you. I want you to learn to be quiet, to listen, to ask good questions, to promote other people and let them do the speaking, because I think that'll make you a more valuable resource in the long run." And I'm telling you what, I could have been pissy and been like, "Well, who do you think you are? I've been doing this for a long time and you've only been here for 2 months." But I took that with what the intention was behind it, which was she wanted to make me a better resource or a better trusted advisor in that role. And it completely changed how people viewed me, how I brought value was different. And it really made a big difference. And so, when you get opportunities to get feedback from somebody about your performance, don't take it personally. I always use the lens of, they're coming at me with this because they want me to be better. Right. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking to me about it. And then take what you hear and try to apply it. And if you can, I'm sure you'll find that it'll change things if you give it the opportunity to.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful. And how, just wonderful that she had a care for you to share that.
Yep.
I think
we are true friends to this day. We hardly ever see each other, but we ping each other on LinkedIn all the time. And she really made a big difference for me. So
I think that's the thing for people to remember, that, honestly, when somebody gives you feedback, most of the time it's because they care so much for you, and not the reverse, that sometimes we can get defensive and our feathers ruffled a little bit. But to your point,
well, and it may ruffle your feathers, and you know what? That's okay.
Right.
If you go through life with your feathers never being ruffled, you're not doing what you need to be doing.
You're not living.
Absolutely. I think it's true too. For you to be able to take that feedback and really use it and apply it, it's just, Yeah, I mean, so amazing, and I think so many times in life we hear that feedback and get defensive, and on the supplier side, which we all here are now. One thing that we're constantly telling ourselves is when you're getting that feedback, it's generally a good thing. If they don't like who you are, or don't think don't like whether it's your product or you getting advice or anything, nobody generally gives feedback to somebody who they just is a lost cause and they don't care about. If you're selling something and they're giving you feedback, there's usually enough there to make them care and be interested. And same thing as you as a person, right? Like when somebody's giving you some kind of advice, understand that they think enough about you to say, hey, if you do this, you're going to be next level. And for you to be able to realize that, then it's just incredible and very impressive.
Yeah, and for the leasing folks that are out there, that's why I always taught the people that are not leasing, their information is more valuable to me than the people who say yes, because I need to figure out why. Why didn't they even give us any kind of feedback?
Right.
Yeah.
Even negative, even a no means they're engaged, right?
Yes, exactly. Wonderful. Well, let's take one more quick break here, and then a few more questions before we wrap up here on the other side.
Okay.
Welcome to your beautiful new apartment home here at Eagles Point 14. As you can see, we're featuring this beautiful one-bedroom den.
Meet Drew. She's a photographer living in Chicago and is currently looking for a new apartment. She's found a few places she likes, but isn't sure which one is the best fit. That's when Drew discovered RentGrata. RentGrata allowed Drew to talk to Ashley, a resident of the building she was considering. After talking to Ashley, Drew knew it was the right place for her, so she decided to move in. Today, Drew found a new home and Ashley made some referral money. But with RentGrata, it doesn't stop there. When this conversation data is combined with AI machine learning intelligence, RentGrata can provide new insights that allow property managers to get a better sense of what renters want. And that means a better renter experience for all. Welcome your residents. Reach them with RentGrata.
Welcome back. So wanted to get into a few more questions about what you do outside of work here too, and dive into a little more into Steve. So when you're not at work or perusing LinkedIn, where can you most likely be found?
Well, I'm probably, for the last couple of years, it was home, because my leash was pretty short with my mom living with me. I recently moved her into a memory care community, and I think some of the AAMD audience has heard me share my story with her before. So she's now adjusting to her new life, and I'm adjusting to my new life. I really have to make a concerted effort to get out of my box. So I do a morning walk, I do an afternoon walk, and I do an evening walk just before bed, to get steps in for the day and to just kind of get a break from, I could easily sit in here 24 hours a day and just, work and sit. But I'll have to figure that out. I'm still kind of figuring out my new normal. So I don't really have a good answer for you. I could say I watch the Hallmark Channel, but that would really be sad. So I won't mess up to that.
I think they're about to have their big season, right? It's the holiday season.
It's already started. Christmas started at October 1st. I can't believe it.
Well, so I know that you are quite the traveler, and I'm curious, what's somewhere you have not been that is on that bucket list of yours to where you'd like to go someday?
A couple places. I'd like to go to Prague, which is in the former Czech Republic. I've never been to that city, and it's pretty magical. And then I did go to Thailand and Cambodia a few years ago, and I'd like to go back to Vietnam. I'd like to go to Myanmar, but it's a little bit, there's a lot of unrest over there right now. So you kind of have to be careful as a traveler, but probably Myanmar, and if it was Europe, it would be Prague or Croatia. Those are 3 things that are on my bucket list.
I've heard great things about Croatia. That's just that hidden gem, maybe, that you wouldn't necessarily think about. What about what's your favorite place to go back to?
My favorite place to go back to is the United Kingdom. I on a Groupon for high tea and a spa treatment at the Hyde Park Hilton, I ended up meeting these 2 lovely young British ladies, and this is our 10th anniversary as friends this year.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm getting ready to go the 23rd of November. I'll head over to see them again and to celebrate that anniversary, and I can't wait.
Oh, that just gave me goosebumps. That's so cool. You did just light up too when you started talking about that.
Well, that's a story that just goes to show there's no such thing as a stranger. It's just a friend I haven't met yet, you know. And when you put yourself out there and you take time to say hello to somebody, or you open a door for somebody, and you all walk in together and strike up a conversation, that can lead to really wonderful things. And so for folks that are in the leasing roles and on site, you never know who you're going to meet, how you're going to impact their life, and you might end up becoming friends, BFFs, as we call them. They're my British friends forever.
British friends forever. I love it. I love it. I think you bring up a good point in that, like, with traveling. I mean, my wife April and I, we love to travel as well too. And I was thinking about all the amazing places, but really, what's so much better is the people that you meet while you're traveling. And I think if we approached every day like as if we were traveling, you're just so much more open to meeting new people, and people become lifelong friends, and just having that mentality on a day-to-day basis is awesome. And so I love that you bring up the UK, and really not because of just the location, but because of the people is amazing. So, and
I can't tell you how many people I've sat next to on plane trips. And I'll be at the end of a long trade show. The last thing you want to do is sit next to somebody who wants to talk for 4 hours. But there's been some really cool opportunities to meet people that I would have otherwise not been able to meet, and it's a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, so a couple more questions here. What is something fun or interesting about you that your work colleagues might not know?
That my work colleagues might not know.
Hopefully they'll watch it here.
I was an extra in the film Sweet Home Alabama.
That's like one of my favorite movies. Who was it?
The nighttime dance scene. I'm in a bright orange or a bright yellow mustard colored polo shirt, dancing on the dance floor. You can see me go by, and then my big head goes by the screen at one point.
This is so fun.
They called me Big Bird on set. Hey, Big Bird, get out of the way. You're ruining the shot.
That's really cool. Now I have an excuse to watch it again and not feel guilty.
And every time I turn it on, it's just past that scene, and I'm like, oh.
Oh goodness. See, that's super fun. All right, our walk-off home run question, and I feel like you could give more than one morsel of advice, and of course you've given it throughout here, but coming from a trainer role for 22 years, what advice would you have to somebody starting out in the industry at any point in their career?
This business is what you make it. You can be a leasing consultant and be a superstar, or you can do anything that you can do for a Fortune 500 company within the context of the multifamily universe. So if you want it, then put it on your vision board and go for it, because you could do anything in this business. You don't ever say no. Always have a conversation. I taught some folks back in 2008, and they said the one thing that I told them was never say you're not open to relocation. Because when you say no, you don't even get to have a conversation. You don't even get to go there. So say yes and see what they have to say. And then they may like you and be like, you know what? Now that we know people can do things remotely, maybe we'll take a different angle on this job and let you do it remote. But never say never. and you can make this. I mean, it's going on 30 years for me, and I love every day. Every day is different.
It is, and the people we get to know, and like
you two.
Well, right back at you. We just appreciate you so much spending this time with us and sharing your voice and heart and story with the industry, and even some people maybe not in the industry. But thank you for your time today. And I forgot to thank the AAMD at the beginning of this, that they're helping present all of these wonderful people and professionals. And so thank you to the Apartment Association. I know we've got the charity auction coming up soon. So be a part of that. Go. Definitely one of the best events supporting family homesteads. So take a look at the aamdhq.org website for events. And thank you, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.